Hello and welcome to Strange New Worlds podcast. We keep elaborating on the name, but we're not quite there yet. We're getting there.
It's not as alliterative as our like Days of Future cast like a podcast, because that just flows well. Strange New Worlds cast podcast. I don't know.
It could be a strange new cast,
maybe.
Maybe. Strange new cast. I don't know. We're working on it. We'll get this by season 5 when
the
when the series is over.
5, we'll figure it all out.
I'm your host, Camille Salazar Hadaway, and I'm joined with my co-host, Mr. Steve Saylor. Stevie,
how are you?
How you doing? Are you feeling strange? Are you feeling Trekkie this episode?
Yes, I am. I'm definitely interested to hear your thoughts on this week's episode. After last week's episode, where we kind of were like not necessarily split or disagreed on our thoughts on the puppet episode, but I'm definitely after watching this one,
different ends for that one. Yeah.
So I'm curious to see where we land for this one. Sure. Oh,
and
actually, you know what? Let me ask you. What are your thoughts of the season so far? I mean, we're roughly about halfway through now.
Good question. I'm not going to give it a number because we.
No, of course, we say that to the end of the season.
We got to tease it, for the end of our podcast run here. So I'll give the number rating then. But for now, so far, checking in a midway point, I'm feeling pretty good. I think there were some solid episodes, some very strange and wacky episodes that I liked, but there is just that one thing I'm missing. I'm just waiting for one plot point to come in, just something to tie in what is next for this crew. And I know that won't come till later in the season if it does come. But I'm just like, I am so invested in these characters and I just want to know, like, where are they going to next? What is their gripes? Like, what is the main issues that they're dealing with, and when will we see those arcs develop?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm liking where we're going. I've kind of basically succumbed to the realization that like this show is not a serialized story that kind of has like a whole season arc that's just episode like basically each episode is leading towards a concluding story, and it's the episode of the week. And I mean, I had like it took me a minute to be able to realize that the original series was very much like that.
Yeah.
Even technically, TNG and DS9 up until a point was like that. It wasn't until DS9 that we had the serialized like episodes from like episodic content, and it was like, okay, I like that we're kind of going back to that. And I was like, once I kind of took that idea out of my head, I was like, I've been enjoying this season a lot more with that in mind. But I'm the same as you. It's like I kind of want to see, okay, what is next for the crew. I like that we're getting these adventures with the crew, but I want to see like more like developed character growth. I mean, we know we see like kind of week to week and we see like the relationships kind of grow, but I mean, we only have 1.5 seasons left of the show, and I would love to be able to see them come to a good concluding point where we eventually see what like Kirk take over as captain of the Enterprise. So
no.
Well, it's gonna happen. I mean,
I'm not ready.
It's gonna happen regardless. We're gonna win again. We only have 1.5 seasons left, but we'll have to see how it goes. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the season.
Yeah. You know what? Like, and we'll dive into Off Hour, which is the episode this week, in just a bit. But I just want to talk a little bit more about this because I think it is a point. I think in a lot of Trekkies' heads, depending on what Trek is your Trek, you will have an expectation of like, okay, I'm following the story development with this crew. They're dealing with like a main baddie, or it's leading like with some sort of issue that this crew is dealing with, and like follows like a regular series. But yeah, I have to keep reminding myself, like, Strange New Worlds, it is like the kookier side of things. It is that they're experiencing very different things each episode, and it's not about them. And watching Lower Decks, it's kind of like a cartoon. How cartoons are written, essentially, like Lower Decks, and how that story goes, but in live action. And I think that's where my brain is just like, no, I need to think of like character development and seeing like real issues with these characters, and it has to be in multiple series arc or multiple episode arc,
Yeah.
But I'm just like, no, this is Strange New Worlds. Set the expectations. And I think you'll enjoy that a lot more if you find that with this series, you're still trying to find where you mesh if you're a Trekkie.
Yeah.
Is your kind of Trek for you.
I agree.
Yeah. So we are talking about Off Hour, and how this is going to work. We're going to talk in general about the episode, and then give our score for the episode, and then we're going to head into spoiler territory. So at that point, we will warn you again. It is the point of no return. We are going into Strange New Worlds spoiler territory at that point. So right now, though, we're going to talk more about in general Off Hour, which I liked how this is pretty much an homage to 24, the series 24.
Kinda,
right? But how did you find this episode for you? Because I know last episode you wanted more Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said off the top, I think you got it.
I was literally about to say that. I think this is like for those who have been wanting more of a Trek sci-fi type episode. This is definitely that in a nutshell. Like, this is classic. The ship's in trouble, and they have only a certain amount of time in order to be able to fix it, or to and it just I love when they can, because this is exactly what I love about in regards to modern Trek, is that when they nail the Star Trek elements of a show, they nail it. Like, it really, like, it keeps the nostalgia and homage to Trek of the past, but also does stuff that's brand new and brand new way of storytelling. Because if we go back to the original series, they wouldn't have been able to do an episode like this with this kind of tension, and also being able to go back and forth with the parts of the crew in different parts of the ship, like they would have with this. Like, this is taking kind of the modern version of of storytelling within Trek, like new Trek, and kind of taking the classic storytelling of old Trek, if we want to call it that, like pre Alex Kurtzman, like Discovery era of Trek. This is where we thrive in that sort of regard. And I really like this one. The tension was high. The stakes were even higher, more so than I thought that I would be concerned about. Like, there was some like little minor like body horror elements in this episode that I didn't expect, but it's like, it truly does show more of the stakes that the crew is in as the episode goes on, and you don't know how the things are going to end. I mean, I think you kind of know, at least for one character, because they're like, it's the crew of the Enterprise, so we know who survives technically, but it is still like that, like the tension was there throughout the whole time, but the true like camaraderie of the crew really shone through in this. And there was a lot of times where it was emotional. There were a lot of times where there was great action. There was times where it was great storytelling and character moments. Like, there was a lot in here, and a lot of times they were more like the actors were probably like just acting to nothing, because there was like, at least for one of them, I won't spoil it, but there was at least one of them that was just in their quarters just by themselves, and having to be able to act like via audio communication is like, that's hard for an actor to do in that kind of a setting. But I loved what they did with it, and also like it just the connections that each character has with each other. And so for this, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. I really did like this episode a lot. Well, what'd you think, Camille?
Yeah, I think this episode was just such a great Star Trek episode in general. It was real depending on what your Trek is, right? And especially with modern Trek, I think there's a lot of conversations on where Star Trek has been in the last 5 years, last decade or so, and what is true Trek. And I think, as long as you're having fun and there are stakes and you're enjoying the sci-fi element, they're going technical in a sense, it's that's
very like sci-fi techno babble there, they call
exactly it. Yeah. And that is very much what Star Trek is about, and you get that here. They're going through this split stream wormhole essentially that is tearing the ship up. And it's like classic. Okay, we are in trouble. And they set the stakes up really high off the bat, and they set that counter. Like even when they start the episode and they're just talking in general, everyone is waiting for the weekend to start. The main crew that we follow throughout the series, just waiting for the weekend to start, waiting to be relieved by the night crew, essentially, so they could enjoy their weekend. But you're seeing a timer, and you're seeing this timer go. So oh crap, it's about to go down. Something is about to happen. So I like that they set the stakes up high off the bat, and then they dive right into it. They give us action. They continue with the high stakes in terms of these bonds with certain crew members who seemed throughout the series so far that they were on the same page, but not necessarily. And you see that their friendship is kind of on the fritz because of a decision that, one of them can't make or decides to keep prolonging, essentially. And the question of commitment to crew keeps coming up for one of the crewmates here. So I like that conversation of like, okay, when you are a part of a ship, like how dedicated are you? Because there are calls that you are going to have to make. And we see some of those calls play out. And one of them with, Nurse Chapel specifically, pretty much disregarding a direct order because she feels it is the right thing to do. And the whole situation with Nurse Chapel and Dr. Mbega is just, such good writing and such body horror to the fullest. And I like how creative they get with how they're solving all of these issues. But then not even their dynamic, you're seeing with the rest of the crew, and how the crew is trying to cope with essentially the Enterprise being pushed to its limits, and literally Una being pushed to her limits, and more of that body horror as well. So I think overall with the story, they really were able to set up the character arcs. They two different directions they went with, like where they wanted the audience to follow and stick with. Well, three kind of. And they really let us settle into each of those moments and be invested fully. I think there were different types of risk for each storyline, essentially. But it was great payoff as a fan, because you were able to see that tension continue to be risen. And there was multiple points where I was like, I don't know, man, like we may actually lose a crew member here.
I thought so too. I thought we might have lose a crew member here, like one or two of them, for sure.
Yeah. And I think in order to trick the audience into, well, not trick, but have the audience along for the ride, and believe in these arcs that these characters are going through an episode, I think it's really hard to do. And the series has managed to do that for me at least twice so far this season. And I think that just is credibility to the great writing that's been happening on the show. I know we had our debates on that last episode, but for the most part for the season, I think there's been great writing, and this is the greatest writing so far that we've seen for the season. So for me, it is a 9 out of 10. This is top notch Trek, man. We are back. We are back with a top notch Trek. And we want to know what you think as well. So let us know how you would rate this episode in the comments. But for now, we're going to actually head into spoiler territory. So if you have not watched the full episode, just pause it right here. Okay, come back when you watch the full episode. We're going to be here. We're going to be chatting, and we're going to get into it right now. Steve, oh my gosh, let's talk about the body horror in this episode. I was not expecting at all how graphic this episode would get.
Yeah, I mean, we got not only like Dr. Mbenga being like cut it almost severed in half. That's 2 episodes in a row where a crew member has been severed in half.
Yeah,
with the Pelia, with the puppet, and then and Dr. Mbenga with this one, like, because
were they foreshadowing that someone would be severed in half with Pelia and the puppet? Who knows?
maybe, but like, yeah, like, and then it's like, because like you see his legs, and then they pan up, and you just see the rest of his half of his body
and
just sitting on top of the of the desk, and I'm just like, oh my god! And then when you see the body scan, and it's just like it's just a spine that's like only connecting.
He's holding on with like not. I don't even know if the spine was there, man. I think it was just.
It looked like it was. That was the only thing that was connected. It was
like crushed.
Like it was. Yeah. It looked bad, and then seeing Una's leg. Bones snap like literally in half out of her skin as the gravity was was pushing down so hard, like, oh my god.
I was not expecting that. I was not expecting them to show her. It was her ankle. Was it her ankle or
no?
I
think it was like her leg.
Yeah.
I think it was like from her knee, or like it was either a
something
shin.
Something snapped.
There like was some big bone snap.
And I looked away. But no, it was. And that was the thing. It was all done where it wasn't too much. Like they were making it all about that. The episode wasn't all about body horror. It was like just tastefully put in, and it made sense where we saw it.
Yeah.
And this is nitpicking, okay?
Okay.
But the only thing I had an issue with is when they're trying to evacuate Una and that crew. I think Spock's with her at that point.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get them to the other side of the room because the piano starts crushing. They see the piano crush. I know she is so strong, but I thought they could have went a little further with the body horror. They could have had other crew members, because they should if she's able to be like, because she's augmented essentially.
Yes.
If she's able to withstand that, I feel like other crew members should have been screaming and like in pain. I feel like that could have been sold a little bit more.
I think yes, if they wanted to kind of go that route, I think it was just enough that it was shocking and it like then because there were two shocking moments, like because there was only one other thing that happened was like when the sick bay was freezing over, and like Christine like loses a part of her finger, and I was like, that's the only additional thing. So I think that they kind of did enough body horror that like it was still shocking, but they didn't necessarily need to. I don't think they needed to kind of go any further, because
that's fair. I just want someone to pass out at least, you know.
Oh sure, well,
just to show that scaling of like Una is very strong, and there's obviously the reason we know, right? I thought they would have. Like, it just was a little weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, we did see a tiny bit of like a little bit more of the body horror with like the irradiated face of Spock as he kind of came back. So we did kind of see like half his face is kind of like melting a little bit, which also I guess was like it could be considered body horror to a degree as well. But we've seen that's like, it's like Trek is not shy of avoiding body horror, but they've never done it I don't think to this extreme
as
like
graphic.
At least they have in the new Trek era, because it's streaming, so they can kind of get away with it without having to go by broadcast standards of network TV. So but yeah, like it was brutal, and I did not know what was going to happen. Like I thought we were going to lose Joseph. Like I was like, okay, he's already said he wants to leave, and I'm like, is this how he leaves?
Well, and that was the thing too. So this dynamic between Nurse Chapel and Joseph, Dr. Mbega, I was actually surprised by, because I always considered them obviously very close. I always considered Nurse Chapel obviously has so much respect for Joseph, but then also I just thought they were cool. I thought they were fine. It was only when she left the ship where I was like, oh, there's something a little here, but I just thought she was leaving because of Spock, essentially in love. But yeah, I just thought that dynamic, I was like, oh, okay, like this is I'm surprised, like, because I didn't understand where that dynamic came from. But I think what made me fully take that leap with these characters is the fact that there was so much at stake. That Joseph was literally severed in half at a table, and you're seeing how their friendship, their relationship, what that means to each other, right? And how wise like Dr. Mbega is, as well as how smart Nurse Chapel is to remember pretty much all his research. So I did like that there was that payoff, and I think sometimes when you have especially in Strange New Worlds, where we're not necessarily focused on these character arcs and these character relationships, when we are introduced to an issue, and this was, I think, something that we touched on with Human Best Friend, where we were like, oh, this is a weird pairing between the two of them. Mm-hmm. There has to be a big payoff, and we didn't get that payoff there. I feel like we weren't necessarily happy with the ending of Human Best Friend, but we got that payoff here, right? We got how the lengths that Nurse Chapel was willing to go through to save Mbega. So I think that made sense for me to buy into the storyline that it was something pre-existing.
Because they did. There's a recap at the beginning of the episode where they kind of go through a few of the key moments that throughout the series that Christine and Joseph have had. And so even though I can't remember all of the kind of the things that they had gone through together, the thing that I kind of got out of it was at least at the beginning, it was sad they were kind of arguing like that, but hey, friends fight. It's true. If you're friends, if you can't be friends with someone only good, if you can only be friends with someone during the good times and you don't fight, is that truly a friendship? Because people are different, and even though you may be similar as a friend, we could fight, and so I sort of saw that as they're still friends, but they're kind of they have disagreements on how their lives are kind of going. And it's because Christine was kind of half in, half out. She wasn't full permanent member of the crew. She was only temporary. And Joseph was like, well, hey, you know what? I'm looking to leave too. And here's the thing too. They look like that they were setting up for Joseph to leave in this episode because I don't know if you caught this, but they mentioned and they show and they have Dr. Boyce as the beta shift doctor, other chief medical officer on the ship. Here's a fun fact: Dr. Boyce was the original surgeon in that pilot episode of The Cage for Star Trek. That was before they basically went with Dr. McCoy instead. Yeah. So the fact that we're getting a now for the first, and Dr. Boyce has never appeared in Strange New Worlds. So this is the first time we're getting this. I thought they were literally setting up that Joseph was going to die, and then Dr. Boyce was going to take over as chief medical officer, and then there's going to be this dynamic of Christine trying to be able to work with Boyce now that because Joseph is gone, because they've killed off characters before. One of my favorite characters, I'm blanking on his name, but there was the Andorian, the blind Andorian engineer. Before we got Scotty and Palia to be the chief
I forgot
engineer.
about him.
And he was early in Strange New Worlds, and I miss because funny enough, he has the actor who portrayed him actually has the same blind condition that I do. And so I was glad to see him, and then unfortunately they kind of let him go early, but I was like, bummer. But yeah, so they set this whole thing up. I thought this was it's Joseph, goodbye, see you. We're this is your famous send off or whatever. But no, we got him back, and by the end of it, but again, it kind of goes to the fact that it's with this show, other than obviously the main bridge crew of Spock, Uhura, Scotty, and Christine, and Una, they're kind of the permanent bridge crew of that we obviously see in the original series. So yeah, I think probably the only time that the stakes didn't really line up was when Spock was kind of in trouble because it's well, it's Spock. We know he survives.
He's going to be from, and that's the hard, I think, thing that this series overall has to deal with, because we know exactly who survives and who is going to be the iconic crew of the original Enterprise, right?
But we also, in a way, because I always had that problem with prequels too. It's well, we know they're not going to die. There's no stakes for them. But they do, what I love about this series is they do build up these characters that are brand new to the series that we do care about, that the stakes are high when we might be lost. Joseph was one, and even Una, technically, even though we know she survives, but it's that even then it's what happened? She does disappear in the original series. She doesn't she's only there for, I think, for a few episodes if I'm not mistaken. So it's I like that they understand that you can't really put these characters the main crew under like it's huge stakes because we know they're going to survive, but they can with other characters that we've gotten to know and love over the past 4 seasons. Like I could see them, like I could see Ortega's passing, like or even Joseph, like if they want to have that again, like bring those stakes back up again. Like there's a lot of there's a few characters that I think, like even Pelia, like we know Scotty takes over, but she's so integral to the ship. And actually, even speaking of that, we have our first mention of the miracle worker, of Scotty being the miracle worker.
Yeah, the miracle worker.
And he's like, and he trusts the ship. He's like, nope, the ship will hold together. And it's like the first time we get to see that like progression of what we know Scotty to be in the future part of the Enterprise. So I don't know. I just thought I like, again, it just like there was enough stakes that we did not know what was going to happen, and it was true sci-fi Star Trek in every way, shape, or form. And I don't know about you, but okay. Did you like, because I really loved when they were able to communicate back and forth using the comms, because it helped sort of alleviate a lot of the information dump that sometimes like characters would have needed. And it's like the fact they were on open comms and they had the different camera angles sort of cutting in and out, as you said, like the kind of the 24 sort of style, and then even having the chronometer up on the screen too at certain points. Like I really liked that format, and that like, because it just like, oh my god, the conversation between Scotty and Pelia, like,
well, and that's the thing. It's like Pelia you expect, because she's a mystery on her own, essentially. Like she's lived so many lives, you don't know what she has and hasn't encountered. So I like how you hear Scotty essentially freaking out because what he thought was the right thing to do made situations worse, and she's trying to reassure him that she would have done exactly the same thing. And she kind of goes on tangents throughout the series, and she starts going on a tangent, and he's like, why are you talking about that now? And then she just calms him and says, I'm trying to distract you, right? And it's just like,
is it working?
Is it working, right? Because sometimes Pelia, like, she just seems so out there, which I love, by the way.
Me too.
She's so out there.
Carol King is like the queen of that.
I loved her and Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh my gosh, she's so good, Kimmy Schmidt. Like even go back as like Princess Bride. Like
such a good
actress. Hilarious, and she's I love her as an addition to the crew, like 100%.
Yeah. And but sometimes when she does show up, even though I love her, I'm just like, okay, what is she spewing and what is she saying? Like, it's just so out of, because you don't necessarily get like what she's trying to say right off the bat. It's kind of given in, little antidotes, and then you figure it out at the end, like, oh, that's what she's trying to say. That's how she's trying to help the crew. But I like how you actually see that kind of mothering nature to her come through with Scotty and that relationship. The weird thing is when she hears the whistle of like the ship essentially cracking, and then she gets some tape and puts it over a little hole in her room. I was like, she's such a mystery. Like, how does she know?
Well, I don't know, but like I caught on to it right away because you could hear that there's a hissing in her quarters. Yeah, throughout every time they cut to her, and that's why, like, at first I'm just kind of like, she's kind of touching the walls and she's kind of floating in her quarters, and I was like, I wasn't sure if like she was aware of it, but I was like, I could hear it. I'm like, oh no, like there's oxygen is leaking from her quarters. So it's like it kept coming back to it. And then when she's able to find the hole and tape it, I was like, okay, that because I thought we were gonna lose her too. Because she couldn't get out of her quarters, and I could hear like oxygen was leaking.
Yeah, I thought we were going to lose a few people. One of the interesting things, and we talked about the relationship between Spock and Lon. So Spock essentially, they decide to kind of give faith into Dr. Vega's research and look for these neutrons that are going to be really special in this wormhole and hopefully fix everything, right? And Spock goes out. He decides to do this, and the body horror ensues. He gets that radiation burn. And you see all the green blood glory as it comes back in. But then you see Lon, like, through all that, is actually very concerned about Spock.
Yeah.
Essentially. And she ends up him and her end up doing a mind meld where he's able to communicate essentially what they need, that the neutrons were captured and that they're able to utilize them, right? Or that they're in their area and they're able to utilize them.
Yeah.
So and now I'm like, okay, I'm invested again with Spock and Lon. Like, is this the start of a reconciliation here? Because I think I need it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the question of like, will they, won't they? But we've seen Spock through like multiple relationships again at this point that I'm just like, you know what? Hey, Spock, you do you, boo. Like you just like if you want to get back with Lon, get back with Lon. If you want to go back to T'Pring, go back with T'Pring. I mean, hey, if you want to even spark up a relationship with Christine again, I would like, that's cool. Like, Spock, get the girl at the end of the day. But I mean, yeah, I think that the thing with at least the relationship with Lon and Spock now is that there definitely is a true admiration for each other, and they do care about each other. So like her basically knowing that Spock's in danger, and we need like the crew needs the information that Spock has, and her going out onto the holoship, which was like amazing special effects for that. Like we don't get to see like anyone outside the ship while in warp before. I mean, we saw that in Discovery. But
it was so pretty.
It's so pretty, but also so dangerous. Like even if they're in a slipstream wormhole kind of deal. But I like that. At least that she's like, hey, Spock's in trouble. I need I should be the one I should have been the one to go out there, but I should be the one to be able to bring him back. And I'm glad that they were able to kind of like, I think again, it's just like there's a true friendship there for sure. Whether or not they're gonna have a relationship by the end of the season again, please I don't know.
Make it happen. Come on, if you're listening, writers on the episodes that you wrote for this series, just make it happen. But yeah, I do. One of the other talking about special effects, the going back to Nurse Chapel and M'Benga, when Nurse Chapel decides to let all of the air oxygen leave the room, pretty much let the void of space chill and freeze medical bay exactly, in order to keep him all his organs in place, so then she could do surgery on it, which is just wild when you're just thinking of it. Like, that's a crazy idea. Okay,
because it's like they were using the everything particle. It's neutrinos. It's like they can not only heal and repair and create new organs, but they can also like repair and make fuel for the ship. So but
that looked really pretty, like really well done. Special effects and just how the set design for how they chilled the whole medical bay, and like even with like the makeup artists and how they made like props to the makeup artists with the body horror, but also how her limb just froze off. Her finger just
it just snaps off as she's trying to push the desk away. Like
it's so good.
It was, I thought that was awesome. And then like seeing like the two of them on the bio beds at the end, and she was there by his side when he woke up. I was like,
well, they teased. Did you see that when they did that overhead of Nurse Chapel on one stretcher, and then there was someone that walked by that looked like M'Benga.
It did look like him. I was like, wait, is that him?
And then I was like, oh, he's fine.
He's fine. We don't see him from like the waist down, but it's he's fine. He's there. But
go ahead.
I would say like the thing I liked, at least for the button of that and the button of the episode, essentially, is that Christine finally like asked to be permanently assigned to the Enterprise, and and even though like Pike assumed that she was going to leave as soon as like Joseph leaves, I think it's like. It's two friends basically making decisions for themselves that they should have made. I mean, obviously, it looks like that we're gonna like say goodbye to Dr. M'Benga at some point, because if they're bringing in Boyce, to potentially be the new CMO, I could definitely see that leading into potentially next season. We're gonna see Bones kind of come and be that final part of the crew. And technically, and Sulu and Chekhov. We need those three right now of the original series to basically show up in the show. And I do hope that they could be able to do that, and not really just like throw them in at the end of like the series finale, because like I could see maybe Chekhov, because he's a little like he's supposed to be the youngest of the crew. But I would love them to be able to like have like at least spend season 5. Or at least if they have, I mean, we don't know if they've because obviously season 5 is done. We don't know if they cast a Bones or a Sulu for season 5. That's kind of like a sort of unknown at this point. So, but I do hope that we get that. But this may be the beginning of seeing kind of some of the newer crew members of the Enterprise eventually leave the Enterprise, so that the original crew can basically come on the ship for the next 5-year mission.
Yeah. Well, technically the older crew members.
Yes.
For the newer crew members. That was the only thing. That was another thing that I understand why they needed Nurse Chapel to like make the point to kind of close that story of like she is going to be assigned here. And it is also telling for the outside crew to see the relationship between M'Bega and Nurse Chapel, for Pike to say, essentially, I thought you were just going to go with M'Bega when he leaves. Like, you guys are essentially 2 peas in a pod. So yes, it does speak to their friendship more. But then when she does decide to stay on the Enterprise, and she says, it's a decision that I just have to know what to do. Like, I get it's because Vega's trying to let her know from their conversation earlier, like she has to start making decisions to like stay committed to, a crew. Like she can't keep one leg out the door and just keep moving. She has to be committed. The one thing I was hoping is more of a crew moment for her that made her realize the Enterprise is that crew. Because it was like more grounded in like her storyline with M'Bega. It's more grounded in their friendship. Yes. So it would have made more sense for her to be like, I'm going wherever M'Bega's going kind of thing. I just wish there was like another moment where like, and it could have been easily done where Pike was talking to Nurse Chapel about following her decision to follow M'Bega's research, like that trust he had in her. I think they could have made that more of a point as to why she trusts the Enterprise to stay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Like, I would have loved to seen like her make that decision as being a part of the Enterprise crew and not necessarily just like I get it. Like, make the decision for yourself. She's finally committing to staying and not have, as we said, like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But I agree. It's like her. Like, I would love to have seen because she was always like she's connected to the crew. But you start to see like definitely some of the characters really start to feel like that Enterprise is their home. We see that with M'Bega, Ortiz. She's like feels like she's at home. We finally got to see Scott. We see that with Scotty. Like the moment I love was when he gets transported out of the tunnel, or like the basically this. The Jeffries tubes essentially of the ship, and he's like putting his hand on the bulkhead, and then like Paley comes in and she does the same thing, and you can see that like that's the moment that Scotty's like, this is my home, and we see that we've seen that with a few crew members, but I agree, we kind of didn't fully see that with Christine in this. It just felt like that's like, okay, this incident, I think I'm gonna finally make that decision to stay, and I would have liked that a little bit of that button to be kind of like a little bit more fleshed out. I would agree with that.
I want to go quickly back before we wrap things up about something you mentioned. We're slowly seeing the original, the Star Trek original series crew come into its full light and be solidified. Do you think by the end of season 5, we will see the death of Pike?
Well, technically he didn't die.
Yes, essentially.
He does have his accident and he does become disabled. But I think that they probably would. I can think because that's I think is the transition, or at least the transition between like Kirk taking over the Enterprise and Pike leaving. But I would be okay if they decide to, it's just Pike it's time to leave. and he finally gives the reins over to Kirk, and then after, like, they kind of like almost like an epilogue, is when we kind of see that happen.
The accident.
Because like I mean, like there was never really fully known what actually, like, we're kind of developing new ground with Stranger Worlds as far as like what actually fully did happen to Pike. We only know that it was just an incident that happened on a mission, as far as like from the original series, and that was only just like it only, but like because the only other mention of him was obviously was within the original pilot of the Cage, but I don't know if
when he remember in Discovery,
yes,
he essentially sees how
it happened. So that's why
but we don't really get the full. Because, like, remind me, I don't think we actually see. We just see him. Afterwards.
There is we see the moment, like the moment leading up to it.
Yes.
Yeah, but we don't, because he's saving 2 other crew members, and then we do see that later on in the series where he sees that the crew that's being transferred over to the Enterprise is the same crew members that he eventually saves. That does make have him disabled. So we've seen that is kind of what's going to happen. I just hope that we don't necessarily like get to see that fully played out, because I think that would make that, like, I mean, like, as someone who's in the disabled community, I don't want them to basically like make this into basically his death, or make it feel like it's his death. Like, this was like we got
journey's come to the end because he just got into an accident and becomes disabled. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I would love it if they ended the 5-year mission of the first 5-year mission of the Enterprise end with like Pike actually being able to give over the command to Kirk properly than necessarily due to that incident. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm very curious to see how they're going to play that out. It is something they've been teasing throughout the entire run of the show. But I guess we'll know in about 1.5 years' time, I guess.
Well, we have still lots of Strange New Worlds to discover as we go into that realm. We're not quite there yet, but we still have more of this season to talk about, and we're going to talk about it here when every episode comes out. You're going to hear an episode drop of our podcast here to talk all Trek. What are we hoping for next episode? Are we hoping more Trek for our next episode?
With the way that the season is kind of like did different sort of things and different sort of styles, honestly, like, this is really 100% being honest. I'm like, I am okay with going along for the ride. I don't necessarily need to, like, I'm cool with whatever sort of story they want to give us, whether it's wacky and weird to full-on Star Trek sci-fi technobabble type solutions, to big stakes.
I feel like you're going to be happy because the plot starts off for the next episode a temporal anomaly, so we're good.
Ooh, we're getting time travel. Okay, I always love a good time travel Star Trek story, so I'm on board with that 100%.
Well, be sure to listen here. I'm Camille Salazar-Hadaway. This is Steve Saylor, and I hope you all have a good one. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.